These jets are flying 400 miles an hour, just 18 inches apart. That's the distance of about 4 soda cans stacked on top of each other. But what if I told you that only one of these pilots is actually looking where they're going? It's hard to believe, but it's true. The pilots call it flying paint because aside from the leader, none of them are looking at their instruments or where they're headed. They're laser focused on a few fixed reference points painted on the aircraft beside them. It's how they maintain such razor-sharp formations. But how do they make it look so effortless? And how do they not crash? Close formation flying, as seen in aerial demonstration teams like the Blue Angels and Thunderbirds, takes an incredible amount of skill, practice, and trust. In this video, we'll explore the 3 key pillars of formation flying that make jets look like they're welded together in the sky. So strap in, and let's fly paint. The tight formations on display at air shows and over stadiums are awe-inspiring, but they're not just for show. They are born from practical military formation flight that has its roots in the earliest days of aviation. In World War I, it quickly became evident to aviators and military leaders that there was strength in numbers. Planes traveling in groups of at least 2 would almost always win against single targets. Not only could the wingmen effectively cover each other, but in the days before radar systems came online, formation flight was necessary to not lose track of one another, both in battle and in transit to the battle, or between airfields. Specific formations were used so pilots would always know where they were in relation to one another to avoid mid-air collisions and coordinate attacks. While radar and GPS systems have come to the aid of modern military pilots, formation flying is still common practice today. It aids in concealing the size of a group of fighters on enemy radar, ensures all aircraft arrive simultaneously for engagements, assists in operational efforts to recover large groups of fighters to airfields and carriers, and keeps fighter pilot skills sharp while not in battle. Military aerial demonstration teams like the Blue Angels and Thunderbirds serve primarily as recruitment efforts and points of national pride. They represent the basic skills of military-disciplined formation flying taken to the highest performance levels. Their techniques are refinements of tried-and-true tactics that, in order to be performed safely, must be built on 3 key pillars. The first pillar is a strict adherence to the rules of formation flight. Responsibilities are broken down into 2 key roles: the flight lead and the wingman. The leader is responsible for flying the profile by handling navigation and communication. He or she will fly their aircraft in a predetermined series of maneuvers, transitioning between them to keep the formation in the airspace in front of the airshow crowd. They are responsible for where the formation goes and when they get there. The wingman's job is simply to maintain relative position to the leader. They don't worry about their speed or heading in an absolute sense, but only relative to the jet off of which they are flying formation. It's called flying paint because they are trained to focus on a few fixed points of the aircraft they're flying adjacent to and keep those lined up with reference points within their own cockpit. As long as the aircraft they are flying off of is in the same exact spot from their point of view, they will appear to be flying as one unit to an observer. This would of course be hard to do even while flying straight and level, but the appeal of these demonstration teams are the 3-dimensional rolls, loops, and turns that the formations perform. To account for changing motion, formation flyers rely on an essential tool, the radio.
Topgun ready now, little check to the left.
It is the leader's job to speak clearly over the radio every single action they are about to take before they take it. That way, the wingmen know when and how to move their aircraft to maintain formation. The most effective way to do this turns out to be in a sort of sing-song cadence.
Up we go, a little more close.
While it may sound a little absurd to an outsider, the calm, steady, and methodical tone is predictable and allows the wingmen to adjust their control inputs at exact moments during the speech. If they were to wait until they saw the leader's aircraft move, they would not appear to be moving as one.
Stand by, smoke ready now, smoke ready now, Thunderbirds release brakes ready now, burners now!
How do the pilots know what commands denote what actions? The answer lies in the second key pillar of formation flying, practice. These teams practice a lot. The Blue Angels, for example, spend 3 months in between airshow seasons doing essentially nothing but practicing. They fly a minimum of 120 times, 2 to 3 times a day, 6 days a week. It's described as a perishable skill. Just 1 or 2 weeks off can set someone back considerably and reset their muscle memory. Before every flight, the team will do a brief, in which they pretend to fly the entire show before they even take off. They also do an extensive debrief after each flight, in which they look at video footage and go over mistakes made. The debriefing process is almost always longer than the actual flight. Which brings us to the third and most important pillar of formation flying: trust. None of this would be possible without it. That all starts with the flight lead. For the wingmen to be able to fly paint, they have to trust that the lead isn't going to fly them into a mountain, a building, the ground, or other hazards in the air. They have to trust that he or she is going to be utterly predictable, that they'll say exactly what they're going to do before they do it, every single time. The wingmen also need to trust each other, while still having contingencies for the worst. Mistakes happen, and while training minimizes them considerably, it never eliminates them. All wingmen need to have a safe exit strategy in the event that there is a problem, and they need to clear the formation in a hurry. This implicit trust can tragically cut both ways. In 1982, the Thunderbirds experienced the worst accident in their history, when all 4 Diamond pilots crashed simultaneously during a practice flight of a maneuver called the line abreast loop. An investigation concluded that a stabilizer had gotten stuck on the flight lead's aircraft, causing him to not be able to pull out of the dive on the backside of the loop in time. The wingmen, following their training and trust in the leader, followed his jet into the ground. All 4 men died. If this all sounds like a lot, that's probably why there are so few aerial demonstration pilots. It's a highly specialized and unique set of techniques that are born out of basic military formation tactics, but evolved and honed through decades of practice. It's the culmination of generation after generation of pilots learning hard lessons and passing their knowledge on for the next team to soar higher. What's even more astounding is the assignments for these teams are typically only 2 to 3 years. It's an incredibly hard skill to master, but it can be institutionalized and taught to the right person with the right attitude and skills. And that's what these teams represent, the best of the best. A challenge to all those dreamers watching on the ground to work hard in the hopes of one day getting the chance to fly paint themselves. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the world of formation flying, check out one of the videos on your screen now, like this deep dive on the Blue Angels and how they operate. And if you're into the world of aerospace, be sure to like this video and subscribe for future ones. We'll see you next time in the skies as we explore more aerospace horizons.